Hello YouTube, this is a Satsu 5 and today I'm reviewing the Spyderco Fred Perrin Street Buoy. And before I get started on the review, as always, I'm going to go over the specifications and get those out of the way because that's the boring part. Anybody can look this up, and it has really not a whole lot to do with my opinion. It's more of hard facts. So let's get that out of the way. The overall length is 9.38 inches. The blade length is 5 inches on the dot. The steel is VG10. The cutting edge is 4.65 inches. And the weight is 3.7 ounces. And the hole diameter, which I think is funny they added this on here, the hole does nothing for the deployment. It's more of a trademark traditional item, is 0.16 inches. The blade thickness is 0.157 inches or 4 millimeters. And the handle is FRN with craton inserts. Now let's get to the cool part, the interesting part, my opinion. Not that my opinion is so great, but you can learn something from it. That's what reviews are all about, is sharing each other's opinions and deciding if we like the item that is being reviewed. And the first thing I want to talk about with this knife is a sheath. I love the sheath. It has a lot of things going for me, for my own personal taste that I like. First off, it has a drainage hole. Is that really important? No, I'm not going to go in a swamp with this thing, but it's there. It's a good feature. Congrats. I love the Spyderco emblem on it, along with the stainless steel hardware with the black. To me, it is a very attractive looking sheath. Very funny for an item that's going to be in your waistband that no one's going to see on any regular basis. But hey, I like how it looks. I think that's cool. One of the downsides to this knife is it does have a little bit of play, as you can hear. I don't think it's going to come out, but it does have play, and guess what? It deploys very quickly. So, that can be a good thing or a bad thing. Some people may think that it deploys too quickly, that it might be too easy for the knife to come out of its sheath. To me, this is about the battle zone of how I like my knives. I like my knives to come out as extremely fast, whether it's a folding knife. I'd rather have a little bit of, just a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit of play, but the knife fly out really fast, as long as the lockup is sound. On fixed blades, I don't want to have to play tug of war with my knife in order to get it out of the sheath. I want to be able just to pull it out. Now let's look at the knife. Here it is. This is the Spyderco Fred Perrin Street Buoy. And let's do a little quick bio on Fred Perrin. He is a custom French knife maker. He started off, he's also a martial artist. He teaches, I hate loud vehicles, but he teaches self-defense techniques to civilians and military. And he started off, I can't remember what branch he was in, but he was in the French military, and his job required him to untie a bunch of knots, tie knots, messing with rope and different things. And he wanted a knife that he can keep in his hand and walk with his hands at the same time. So he developed the integral finger hole in the knife. That was one of his big things. And so he created the integral finger hole, and it allowed him to hold the knife but still have complete use of his hands to tie things and pick things up and stuff. And that knife became the Le Griffe, the claw. And it's one of his more famous designs. A lot of different people make a variant of it, different collaborations and such. And The main thing I got when I read about Fred Perrin, I'm not going to claim that he invented it. I will claim he was one of the pioneers of the ergonomic knife. If you look throughout knife history, recent and past, there's not a whole lot of ergonomics designed in the knife. Those different handle shapes, like the coffin shape, the bottle cap, the Coke bottle cap shape, different handle shapes. But that doesn't always equal ergonomics. It can be fashion, it can be aesthetics. It could be ergonomics, but it's not really. Fred Perrin, in my opinion, developed the ergonomic knife. He wasn't the inventor of it. There's probably others who did it before him, but he's the guy that I think put it on the map. And let's look at this knife. You got this deep finger groove right here. It's not really a groove, it's a cutout, because a groove would insinuate that it's solid with just a channel cutout. This is actually a whole cutout of the between the ricasso and the handle. What this allows you to do is to grab the knife securely, and it allows you to stab without your hand coming up on the blade. Even in reverse grip, your pinky goes right there. You can stab into some really rough stuff, and your finger and or pinky is just going to run against this wall right here. Some of you may be thinking, well, how is that revolutionary? Think of it this way. Before the ergonomic knife came out, all tactical knives, I'm not going to say all, but most tactical knives had one thing in common, and that's the guard. Whether it's the Tsuba in Japan, the cross guard, the sword breaking guards, the S guard, the D guard, all these guards were a separate item they had to put into blades to keep your hand from moving up on the blade and to keep your knife from falling out of your hands in a rough situation. And this is a separate piece that you had to make for the knife in order to keep it from your hand from slipping up on the blade or dropping it. And me and my brother talk about this a lot. Way before he got this knife, with other knives, we've talked about this, and I'm a firm believer if you have an ergonomically sound knife, you don't need jimping and you don't need a guard. And of course, aggressive jimping is a nice talking point when it comes to reviews. A lanyard hole is a nice talking point when it comes to reviews. It's impressive. A guard is not as impressive, but it's a good talking point. So a lanyard, jimping, guard, all things that are completely not needed if the knife is ergonomically sound. So I don't need to make a lanyard and wrap it around my wrist. I don't need a separate guard or to keep my hand from pushing forward. And I certainly don't need a jimping to keep my hand from slipping up on the blade. This knife has jimping, but you don't need it. And yes, the jimping is effective jimping. It sticks to the skin. But let's look at this concept. Why should it matter if my thumb slips forward on the knife? Well, for comfort issues, it might help your cutting technique if you have a stable thumb platform. I get that. But what hazard does this have? Really, I'm more concerned with my fingers coming up on the blade and cutting my tendons in my fingers and me not being able to hold the knife when I really need to hang on to the knife. That's what scares me. Plus, let's look at this. Take your thumb completely off the knife, you're still able to hold the knife. It's not the most secure thing in the world, but you can still do cutting tasks with without using your thumb. So your thumb is really not providing anything as far as grasping and gripping the knife. It does, don't get me wrong, it does. But as far as gripping the knife, you can do it without your thumb. Look what happens when you put your thumb back on the blade and you drop your fingers. You drop the blade. So where is the strength in your grip when it comes to holding the knife? It's these fingers, not your thumb. The thumb supports, but it doesn't actually grip the knife. So to me, this is ergonomic beauty. I love, it's just a simple thing, this little cutout. How come no one's thought of this before? Really think about it. Cold steel Recon 1s, old school cold steel Recon 1s, old school cold steel Voyagers. They want ergonomically sound knives. They're not bad knives, but there's nothing protecting you from sliding forward. It's just your grip and the texture on the handle. This, you have reassurance that your hand isn't going to slip forward. Now let's talk about another feature of this knife. And in my opinion, since this knife is an ergonomically sound knife, it doesn't need this feature. But I like the feature. It's a good feature. You just don't need it. This is a FRN handle with craton inserts in the middle. The craton not only provides more grip, which really isn't necessary, but it also adds a certain warmth to the knife. It's very comfortable. It feels good. It's not like holding cold metal. So I like that. And if you look at Fred Perrin's mid-tech knives and some of his customs, a lot of them are barrel metal. Maybe a little bit of paracord, maybe stag, maybe different exotic materials. But a lot of them, his base models, are skeletonized handles that are just barrel metal. So, although it's not necessary, it's a good feature to have on this knife. I feel it adds something more to it. It's more detail to the knife. It's more attention to detail. Something to keep note, this is a fixed blade knife, and some people prefer fixed blades to folding knives. They feel if they really need the knife in a dial situation, that this knife will not fold on the fingers, cutting the fingers off. And that is a completely true statement. This knife will not fold on your fingers. The blade might snap, the knife might break, but it's not going to fold on your fingers. This is not a full tang knife. That's why this knife is as lightweight as it is. It's not full tang. I don't know where the tang stops, but it's not full tang. So that's what makes it as lightweight as it is. And it's a very lightweight fixed blade, and I'll talk more to that later. Notice we got a blacked out blade. Obviously, this is one of the quote-unquote black knives. It's tactical. It's a self-defense knife. Fred Perrin actually advertised it as a tactical or self-defense knife, along with his other designs, which his other designs are also good. But what is this knife good for? Like, who is it good for? We know it's a tactical knife. We know you can use it for EDC tasks. We know you can use it in the kitchen, which is, by the way, why my brother originally bought the knife, to be a super cool kitchen knife. That's why I got it. But this is a tactical knife. But who is it designed for? Well, I think it's a good civilian knife. And let's stop on that category real quick. It's the civilian self-defense knife. It comes with a G-clip and with a sheath, but the way that both me and my brother wear most of the medium-sized fixed blades for self-defense that we carry, what we do is we stuff the knife. Well, let me start over. We loop the lanyard, the sheath lanyard, over itself through the belt loop or belt, and you have a little knot. Then we wedge this in a waistband, and when we need the knife, all we do is we simply pull, and the knife is deployed, and there's not a whole lot of effort involved. We first got this idea to do this from two custom knife makers. both French knife makers. One of them was Bastinelli from Bastinelli Creations, and Fred Perrin. We actually watched videos with the both of them together. Couldn't understand a word they were saying. We don't speak French. But we enjoyed the videos that they were putting out together, and we saw them carry their knives in that fashion, and we enjoyed it, so that's how we started carrying the knife. Now, with this particular knife, 5-inch blade, it's like 9 inches overall, a little bit over 9 inches. You stuff this in your waistband. It's a little bit long how we carry it. You will have this poking out from under your shirt just a little bit. The average person will not notice this. Trust me, I've carried it. But you will notice it, and that might annoy you. So just be prepared for that. If you carry it in the fashion that we carried the knife, you will notice that you're carrying the knife, and that could be a plus or minus for you. It's up to you to decide. But let's get back to what I was talking about as far as who is this knife designed for. Civilians? Yes, I think it would be a good civilian self-defense / EDC fixed blade. Maybe a little bit big for EDC fixed blade, but definitely a good tactical fixed blade for the civilian. Law enforcement, SWAT officers, police officers, I think it'd be awesome for them. But how about a military combat utility knife? Now, me and my brothers talked about this already, and we talk about this kind of stuff all the time. The philosophy behind knives, what they would be good for, who they'd be good for, and he says yes. I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes either, because I'm not sure about this knife. This knife is extremely lightweight, which is a good thing if you're a soldier, Marine, whatever, Navy SEAL. It's a good thing if you're going to be carrying a bunch of gear to have a lightweight knife. But here's where the paradox comes in. Soldiers and military personnel need lightweight gear to carry because they carry a lot of crap. But the current trend, and this trend's been going on for a while, for military knives, is these big, beefy, oval-built knives. Let's just say, for example, Cold Steel SRK, Sniper Blade Works, Medford Knives, and those other ones I'm missing out on. But just think about those knives. 1/4 inch thick, or give or take a little bit. Thick handles, either full tang or just real beefy handles. And that's the current trend in military knives. Now, there's some people who decide to carry dedicated killing or fighting knives, but the general trend is combat utility. Because why should I carry 2 separate knives or 3 separate knives, one for EDC, one for combat utility, and one for killing, when I can carry one knife to do all of those tasks? So, and even the cable, I've heard stories of Marines breaking their cables because they were misusing it. And the cable is not like a wimpy knife at all. It was the original combat utility knife, in my opinion. Those other ones, but that's like the benchmark for a combat utility knife. And they break these knives. So will this be a good knife for the military person? Let's see, it's very thin, 4mm thick, very lightweight, not full tang. Which none of those things in themselves are bad, and them combined isn't really bad for other people, but I'm not entirely sure if it's good for the Marine. I've talked to several servicemen, several Marines, and one of them told me the quickest way to find out if something's bulletproof, or when I say bulletproof, I mean unbreakable or idiot-proof. And I'm not calling U.S. Marines idiots. by any means. But if you want to find out if something's foolproof or unbreakable, the quickest way to do that is to give it to a Marine. And nothing wrong with a Marine. They're probably misusing the tools, because I've heard stories of what they do with the equipment, and maybe I'll get into another video about that. But they will use the knife hard. They will abuse it. They will use it for any and every conceivable task you might call upon a knife to do. Whether the knife is designed to do it or not, they will use it for that task. It's kind of like the average American. And I'm not talking bad about Americans, but I have heard a Japanese bladesmith say that making knives for Americans is like making a knife for the lowest common denominator. The knife should be able to do everything. It should be unbreakable. It's not really refined. And I can elaborate on that on a separate video. And I'm not talking down to anybody at all. It's just how things are. I can tell you stories of how Americans use their knives, as opposed to the Japanese kitchen knife set versus the American kitchen knife set. But that's not what this video is about. But yes, if you want to find out if a knife is unbreakable or idiot-proof, give it to a Marine, and they will tell you everything that's wrong with that knife after they give it to you in 3 or 4 different pieces. That's just how it is. Nothing against the Marines. This concept has been around forever. I love the Marines. They're very practical people. But the needs for a military knife is a paradox. Lightweight, easy to carry, easy to deploy. Good. Overbuilt, unbreakable, built like a tank. Good. But they don't combine well. Those features don't combine well to make a good knife for the military. You either go one way or you go the other, and that's up to the serviceman to decide. I will tell you that this knife, just 4mm thick, very thin, full flat grind, will add to its cutting capability. It's just physics. Less friction, it's going to cut a lot better than some of the other knives. But again, you're going to have some strength issues. This knife is very fast to deploy. You don't even have to think about it, it's out. But it's definitely a personal preference deal, and I don't feel comfortable putting it as in the hard use military knife. My brother thinks it will. I have no problem with his opinion. Just like if a serviceman came up to me and said this is the knife he's carrying, if he feels confident with the knife, then that's probably one of the more important features, is that you feel confident with the knife. I know an Army recruit I went to school with, he thought Korshaw knives were the best knives made on the planet. Not zero tolerance, but Korshaw knives. Now I can tell you from experience that Korshaw knives are not that robust. They're good EDC knives, nothing that I would go into battle with. And that's what he carried. If that knife gives him enough confidence to use it, and hopefully nothing wrong will happen with his strength or anything, then that's probably the knife he should use. If he doesn't know any better, and that knife gives him confidence, use the knife that gives you the most confidence. That's probably when people ask me about self-defense knives, what self-defense knives they can they should get. I'll give them a few options. I'll tell them some features they need to look for. Then I'll say, choose the knife that gives you the most confidence when you have it in your hand. So that's my deal on the who is this knife designed for? Law enforcement, cool. Civilian use, cool. Military, I'm not so sure. I'm not going to say yay or nay, but definitely this is a good knife as with its accepted limitations. Something else I need to talk about. This is an ergonomically sound knife. It's a good shearing knife. It's good for many different things, but it does have one Achilles heel. I don't know if you can see this, but it has no choil between the ricasso and the cutting edge. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm fixing to explain it. In fact, I don't know if I haven't. Let's see what knife I have on me. Okay, there we go. Perfect example. Both ergonomically sound knives. Right here, you notice there's no cutout between the ricasso and the cutting edge. The ricasso being this flat area right here. This knife, you see this little cutout? That's called the choil. What does the choil do? Well, the choil allows you to sharpen the whole entire cutting edge from tip to where the ricasso starts. This is sharpened all the way. With the Fred Perry knife, there's no choil there. So basically what you're getting is this shape. You get the cutting edge and then it kind of flares out to this wedge shape. So it's going to make it extremely difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's going to make it extremely difficult to get this last part razor sharp. Is that a big deal breaker for me? No. If just 1% of the blade isn't razor sharp, is it going to kill the knife design for me? I mean, that's basically what you're looking at. If it's just 1% out of all of this blade isn't hair pulping sharp, that shouldn't really make a difference to you. But to some people, that does make a difference. And most well-made motor knives, whatever you want to say, has the choil on it. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. And I just wanted to point that out to you, that this does not have a choil. And like I said, it does not kill the design. The design is still a sound, good design. Now, what have I said about this knife? I think I've covered all the talking points. Let's go over some quick bullet points of this knife design. I like how the sheath looks. It's aesthetically pleasing to me with the contrast between the stainless steel and black. I love the emblem on it. It's something that the average person isn't going to see on me, but I like it. It's a good attention to detail. Has a little bit of play in the sheath, but it's not going to come out on accident, in my opinion. It's just, I don't think so. When it's under your t-shirt and stuff, nothing's going to snag under there and pull it out. Easy to deploy, extremely fast to deploy, easy to get into action. It's an ergonomically sound knife. And like I said, I'm not going to claim that Fred Perry is the inventor of the ergonomically sound knife, but he's definitely a pioneer of it. And with an ergonomically sound knife, you don't need features like a guard. You don't need jimping. You don't need a lanyard to wrap around your wrist. Let's face it, you know, camping chores, wrap a lanyard around the wrist is probably a good idea. But in combat, you don't have time to wrap it around your wrist and grab the knife. So, an ergonomically sound knife is a very important thing to have. Just another bullet point. You grip with these fingers. This is just a supporting thumb. So, again, don't really need jimping to grip the knife. It makes a good talking point. Lanyard holes, jimping, makes good talking points, but it's not needed when you have an ergonomically sound knife. Full flat grind, going to have a good bit of shearing power. Not G10, but VG10 blade. Bowie shape, very practical blade shape. And might not be everyone's cup of tea in my carry method, how I carry the knife. The knife is good. You're going to know that you have the knife. Although the knife does come with the G-clip. So you can decide if you like the G-clip yourself. But the way that me and my brother will carry these types of knives, you will notice that you have the knife because it's just so overall long. The overall length is long. And finally, well, who is this knife good for? Civilians, I'm going to say yes. Law enforcement, yes. Military, I'm not going to make a statement on that. Not because it's a poor knife design, but there's a paradox when it comes to knife combat utility knife designs, and I'm not gonna say either way. I'm just gonna leave it up to you. If you're a serviceman, thank you for serving. I really appreciate it. You can make your own decision about this knife. But I know something I haven't talked about: the price point. See, this is why I do the bullet points. It reminds me of what I've talked about and what I need to talk about. My favorite place to buy knives, one of my favorite places to buy knives, is KnifeWorks.com. They're based out of Louisiana. Me being in Texas means that it's a very fast turnaround shipping time from Louisiana to East Texas. So I get my knives super quick when I order from this website. If you live in Maine or California, you might want to find another place to shop for knives, because it won't be the same shopping experience. But if you live in Texas or Louisiana or any of the surrounding states, this is a good place to shop. And they have decent prices. The price on this knife, street price from KnifeWorks.com, is $84.95. $84.95, which I think is a very fair price for this knife. The suggested MSRP price is $149.95. So that's a savings of $65. But like I said, I like this because of the quick turnaround time and the decent prices. Obviously, there's other places to buy this knife. I have not checked those prices, but expect around $85, somewhere around there. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope I haven't bored you with my ramblings. And I'm going to go ahead and end this video before it turns into an hour-long video. So thank you for watching. I'm a Satsu5, and I'm out.